Now we move on to the third step, and the third step is identifying alternative course of action. Identifying alternative course of action. Now, when we are trying to achieve certain things, when we are trying to do certain things, there are multiple ways of doing. Teaching can be done verbally, it can be done visually. Speaking you can reach. In various methods can be used. So, likewise, when we are going to planning, you can see a number of ways can be found in order to achieve objective. There are number of ways of doing or number of ways to achieve objectives. Last day's example, when I plan to go to Aluva, I have number of ways in front of me. Bus, car or jeep or two-wheeler or whatever be. There are number of ways which I can do. I can achieve that particular objectives. Likewise, the third step in planning is identifying alternative course of action. When we are deciding about the endpoints, when we are deciding about where the organization has to reach at the end, we have to decide how it is going to be done. And that is why we are finding out different ways to act and achieve objectives, or identifying alternative course of action. It simply means that finding out different ways to act and achieve objectives. Finding different ways to act and achieve objective. For achieving objectives, finding out different ways, different methods. In order to reach the objective, what are the different methods we are having? That is to be found. It can be routine. When we are finding out, there are certain things which can be. For example, teaching, usually what you see is teaching is done every time verbally up to a level. But it can be done in different way with the help of technology. It can be done. It can be done even outside the class. So, various methods can be used when you are trying to achieve an objective. The various ways, different ways can be either routine or innovative. These ways are, for example, for going to Alway, the routine way is, the regularly used way is go by bus. Nowadays, of course, there is a, but if I am planning to go by an helicopter, that's an absolute different way. So, it can be routine or innovative. It can be, those ways can be which are used regularly, routine. It is done every time. And of course, it can be innovative. It can be something new. That also can happen. So, identifying alternative course of action is talking about finding different ways to act and achieve objective. It can be innovative, it can be routine. And if you think the project is very important, you have to make sure that a maximum number of alternatives is generated and it has to be discussed among the members. Maximum number of alternatives, maximum ways of doing that thing. Among them, then only we can find out the best one. If we are following that particular way, we will follow that only. Instead, we have to find out a maximum number of ways which we can reach objective, and we can get a best one out of it after discussion and all. So, here we are talking about identifying alternative course of action, that is talking about finding different ways of achieving objectives. finding different way to act in order to achieve objective, and it can be innovative, it can be routine methods can be selected, or innovative methods can be selected. And when a project is very important, it is good that you develop a maximum, you find out maximum number of alternative, maximum number of ways it can be done. That will be beneficial for the organization. So that is the third step in process of planning. Now moving on to fourth step, which goes in continuation. In third step, we identified different ways to act, different ways to achieve objective. In the fourth step, we have to analyze, or evaluation of the alternatives we have found must be done. Evaluation of alternative must take place. That means to weigh the pros and cons, weigh the pros and cons, that means positives and negatives of each alternative. Pros and cons of each alternative is to be analyzed. We have to find out what are the negatives, what are the positives, and it must be analyzed in light of objective. Analyzed in light of objectives. It must be analyzed in the light of objective, keeping the idea what the objective is. On the basis of that, we have to analyze whether it is good or bad, whether it have positive effect or negative effect. So based on in the light of objectives, the positives and negatives of each alternative is to be evaluated. That happens in this step, and various methods can be used. Calculations can be used, risk factor can be considered, forecasting conditions, or various aspects are considered in the light of objective. Various factors are considered, and to evaluate proposals, detailed calculations of earnings, earning per share, interest, tax, dividends, various aspects are considered. In simple words, various aspects are considered in the light of objectives. Each alternative is analyzed. And their feasibility and consequences is also considered. Feasibility and consequences considered. Whether they are apt, what will happen if we choose that particular objective, that is also to be considered. So that is again considered in this factor. Evaluating alternative course of action, positives and negatives are considered in the light of objectives, and we are checking out whether it is the apt one, whether it is what will be the consequences. All these things are happening in the step of evaluating alternative course of action. So that is the fourth step in planning. Now we move on to the next step. We have identified various alternatives, we have evaluated various alternatives, we have found different ways of doing things, we have analyzed them on the basis of their feasibility and consequences, and in this step, that is selecting of alternative, is considered as the real point of decision making. It is said so because we are selecting, or best plan is adopted and implemented. when we are selecting an alternative means best plan is adopted best plan is adopted and implemented. Best plan is adopted. I think this point we will be discussing in the next one. So, best plan is adopted. Best plan is adopted. Best plan means the most profitable, feasible and with the least negative consequences. Feasible, profitable and with the least negatives. So, from the different ways of achieving the objective in the light of the objective to be achieved, analyzing the positives and negatives, we are deciding the plan which is to be adopted. The best plan is adopted, and by best plan what it means is that the feasible one, which is affordable, which is which is the best fitting one and which is helping us earning profit, and of course with the least number of negatives. The consequences is not creating too much of negatives. That has been adopted. The feasible, profitable and with the least negative. So, here in this step we make the decision, okay, we will proceed from among the different alternative. This particular alternative we will select. The best plan is selected. That is why we say that this is the point of decision making. So, that is the fifth step. And coming on to the sixth step, next step is implementation of plan. Implementation of plan means putting plan into action. Putting plan into action. Whatever is being adopted, we are putting it into action. We are using that plan and we are we decided, okay, we will increase the production. That means we have to find out a labor, make them do the machinery, make them do the things in machinery. We have to have more machinery, we have to bring it, and using the labor, using the machinery, we have to increase the production. That is putting it into action, putting the plan into action, or putting whatever we have decided in order to achieve objective into action. And in this step, if you are analyzing, this involves organizing labor and purchase machinery and all. For putting something into action, we need to have labor, we need to have machinery and all. So, that is done here, and that is called implementation of a plan. That is the sixth step, putting plan into action. And the last step is follow-up action. Follow-up action is seeing whether plans are implemented and activities are performed. Seeing plans are implemented and activities are performed. Activities are performed according to what we have decided. According to what we have decided, and it is equal to ensuring the objectives are achieved, or it is very much required for making sure that objectives are achieved. And These are the 7 steps, 7 logical steps, one after the other, which has to be performed in the function of planning.